Welcome back to Gear Acquisition Syndrome, the show where I satisfy my addiction for collecting video equipment and then talking about it in front of a camera. This is the Lupo Superpanel Full Color 30, a full RGBW panel meant for video production. And as you can probably imagine, it is an RGBW panel. And it goes from 0 to 100% full saturation, so you can get millions and millions of different colors. At intensities from 0 to 100%. So it's really easy to dial in exactly what you want. I'm gonna go with a little purple for right now. First off, I wanna thank Lupo for sending this out for me to take a look at. It's a pretty awesome little panel. Now, something that I was really taken back by when I opened up the box was how light it is. It weighs 3.7 kilograms, which in freedom units is 8.6 pounds, I believe. I used Siri to look it up because I don't know the conversion. It's probably one of the least heavy lights that I have in my studio now. The construction of the whole panel is of plastic, but it's not like cheap plastic you usually get from China. This is that nice Italian plastic. I don't know, I would say it's more akin to like a rough PVC almost. It seems really durable. In fact, when they shipped it over, it just came in this cardboard box with no additional padding. And the plastic from the panel was just right up against the cardboard. I mean, pretty much every other light that I've ever bought has always had some kind of ridiculously padded case. They also have a padded case, which in itself is pretty nice. It can carry a ton of stuff in addition to the light. But that was shipped on its own as well. What I'm trying to say is the panel was shipped in just a cardboard box, and it survived the postal system without any damage, which is pretty amazing. So while I was initially a little worried about the completely plastic construction, I think that's to enhance its durability and primarily keep the weight down, because any other panel that I've had that is around this size has usually been 2 or 3 times the weight. So they did a great job of using durable materials that keep it light. Now they do sell a V-mount battery plate. I think the V-mount battery plate is an additional $100, and the cable to go from the battery to the panel itself is another 60 or 70 bucks. So you'll have to keep that in mind if you want to use V-mount batteries. You do have to buy that additional accessory. But if you're going to be on the go, then I think it's worth it. As it is, the unit ships with an AC adapter box that just plugs in and I think it's like maybe a 10-foot power cord. So if you want to have the panel be longer than 10 feet away from an outlet, you'll either need to get that V-mount battery plate or you'll just need to get an extension cord. Let's go through some of the options. CCT mode, which will take you from 2800K up to 10,000K. And then you can also adjust the green from -1 to +1. So that will give you like a magenta all the way up to like a greenish hue. But mostly I find myself leaving this panel in HSI mode, which is hue, saturation, intensity mode, which lets you use this top left knob here as the hue. So basically you're selecting the color wheel from 0 to 360. And then down here is the saturation. Saturation will get you from 0 saturation, which is white, all the way up to 100% saturation, which will mess with your camera sometimes. And then over here we have the intensity. It's really easy to dial in a color with these 3 knobs, and I will be using this panel pretty much 100% of the time for all of my backgrounds moving forward. Now what's great about lights like these that are professional studio lighting instruments is they're generally set up for film use. So as you'll probably know if you've seen some of my previous videos, I always like to design my backgrounds with a little bit of light, a little bit of splash of lights over there. So right now I have it set up to like blue and some green. But generally these lights are really not meant for that. They're just meant for kind of like making it look pretty but not in video. These lights are really flickery, and a lot of the time it's really frustrating because I'll get a lot of flicker between these lights and my camera, and it just looks really unprofessional. Now with a light like this, you just won't have those problems because that's what it's meant for. It's meant for film and studio work. Additionally, it does have DMX controls over here, so if you have a DMX controller, you can chain a bunch of these together, or you can just control the single unit with a DMX controller. Now DMX controllers are pretty cheap. You can probably find them for between 60 and 150 bucks, especially if you're just starting out. You don't need to get a crazy expensive one. And something like this will get the job done for super cheap, but For what I do, I don't really need the DMX features. I mean, I like just dialing in things with these knobs over here. But if I had 2 or 3 of these lights set up in different sections in a big studio, I would definitely get some really long XLR cables and hook those up to a DMX controller so I could just go whoop, 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 green, blue, red, you know. So that's what you'd really want to use these for is in a studio environment. For those of you wondering about fan noise, you've got nothing to worry about. This light is incredibly quiet, but even then, if the fan were still to bother you, you could turn it off. It just caps the brightness down at 50%. You can easily turn the fan back on at any time. Personally, I just leave mine running because it is so quiet. There are also additional mounting points on the top and bottom of the panel if you didn't want to use the included U bracket. Also, there's a nice hard plastic cover over the surface of the diffusion. It looks really nice. What I currently have to do just to add a little tiny splash of color is to take this little Soak County light, which is a handheld little light, turn it on, let it boot up, turn that on, find the gel, put that in front of it, and go over here, place it, and yeah, so now I have some color back there. Kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah, and also this is only good for tiny little accents here and there. Totally different purpose. There we go. Now the one that this is supposedly supposed to compete against is the RE Sky panel, and that's like a $5,000 to $6,000 lighting instrument. This is $1,598 at the time of this review, so you can do the math there. Of course, there is an RGBW mode. So the RGBW mode will let you actually dial in red, blue, green, and white individually if you needed to match them with a specific color somewhere. So there's also preset mode, which has a bunch of different colors built in: red, green, blue, soft pink, purple, gold, orange, diva green, Caribbean, pastel blue, cerulean, lavender, magenta, strawberry, and then you can make your own presets. I haven't done any presets of my own yet, but these all come built in. And then there's special effect mode, which is really cool. So there's a strobe mode, which will let you use it basically as a strobe light, and you can alter the frequency. It goes from 1 hertz all the way up to 25 hertz. There's party mode, which basically you can control the speed and the dimmer. Just basically cycles through all the colors, makes it look, I guess, like a party. Cop car, which is one of my favorites, and it's all configurable with these knobs here. I think I'm gonna do red and blue. There you go. That's what it looks like, a cop car in America over here. If you do happen to get the V-mount battery option, it's probably a really bad idea to drive around with this pointing out your window turned on, because it's, it's super illegal to impersonate officers. But it works great, and it has a bunch of different settings. There's red, blue, just blue, blue and white, and then all 3 colors. And there's a variety of different flashing options. And finally, there's disco, which is basically like party mode, but instead of fading from one to the other, it just instantly changes, which is kind of neat. And so now we're at the disco. But like I said, I will usually be keeping it in the HSI mode, hue, saturation, intensity, because that's the easiest to dial in a color that I want for my backgrounds. And there we are. The Lupo Superpanel Full Color 30. I'm very impressed with it. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect from a nice RGBW panel. And of course, it can also be used as a key light, which let's go ahead and do that now. There we go. I've got the Lupo Superpanel Full Color 30 as my key light now. I'll turn off my backlight here so you can get the full effect of just this light lighting me up. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off those background lights now. Alright, so the Lupo Superpanel Full Color 30 is now the only thing that is lighting me in this studio. And I should mention, it's only at 3% power. Something to be mentioned for Lupo is they do make some incredibly bright lights. And turn that back on because I feel like it just looks so much better with a little backlight going on. Let's see how bright we can make this light and what I can get my f-stop up to on my camera. I'm currently at f1.4, shutter speed 1/50th of a second, ISO 200. Let's crank it up. Oh god. My lens will only go up to f11, so. All right, so I'm at f9 now, and the panel is an arm's length away, about 3.5 feet. The arm is 3.5 feet-ish, maybe? And it looks like, according to my camera, I'm properly exposed. f9, that is very bright. It's hurting my eyes quite a bit. So very, very bright panel, probably one of the brightest that I own. f9, it's great. Let's move it back down, please. I mean, you could also just use it to give yourself a super sexy little splash of color like I did right now, just a little bit of purple right here. Looks pretty good, I think so. Having an RGBW light really opens up a whole world of creativity that I didn't really used to have. So I'm super happy I have one of these now. I will be using it in pretty much 100% of my videos moving forward. Thank you again, Lupo, for sending this out. I've got a couple more RGBW lights on the way, so if you like videos like this, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.